Okay, so everyone is talking about the rescue mission to find the missing submersible that vanished on Sunday morning while it was exploring the depths of the Atlantic Ocean as a part of a once-in-a-lifetime experience to gaze at the wreckage of the Titanic. On board was British billionaire and owner of Action Aviation Hamish Harding, along with prominent Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, and 77-year-old French explorer Paul-Henri Nargeolet, as well as Stockton Rush, the chief executive officer of OceanGate, the firm that is behind the dive. There are now less than 24 hours of oxygen left in the missing Titan submersible as rescue efforts continue. As the time ticks on, the rescue mission gets more and more dire. So far, we've only had one positive update that came in this morning. A Canadian aircraft searching for the vessel detected intermittent banging noises from the vicinity of its last known location. Apparently, the crew heard banging sounds every 30 minutes on Tuesday and again 4 hours later, though we don't know if that same noise has continued or what could have caused it. It is still a positive sign under these horrific circumstances. The vessel submerged on Sunday morning from its support vessel to travel to the Titanic wreckage, which sits at a depth of 12,500 feet. About an hour and 45 minutes later, the Titan lost contact with its mothership, the Polar Prince. It only takes about 8 hours to complete the entire trip, including a 2-hour descent and exploration. So when the craft failed to surface on Sunday afternoon, it was clear that something had gone horribly wrong. Experts have said that they should have been sending a signal out every few minutes, so the fact that there has been radio silence is very worrying. The Titan is equipped with a 4-day emergency oxygen supply, though it's estimated that the 5 missing passengers have less than 24 hours left. And the reality is terrifying. 5 men trapped inside a tiny 22-foot tube with a single window and no seats, thousands of feet below sea level with no way of reaching the outside world. They will be dealing with cramped conditions and, after a while, claustrophobia, all while not being able to see beyond the black depths of the ocean from the single window. Add to that the dwindling supply of oxygen and the risk of hypothermia. Of course, at this point, there are very few options for what could have happened. It could be floating on the surface of the water, meaning it would be easier for rescue crews to locate the submarine before their air runs out. It is also possible that they are stuck within the actual wreckage of the Titanic. In that case, the rescue would be very difficult because they are still thousands of feet under the sea and the technology required to save them doesn't actually exist yet. The third scenario is, sadly, implosion, which has not been ruled out. If the hull collapses under the enormous pressure, then the chances of survival are zero. Since the incident first made headlines, so much has come out about the company OceanGate, which makes you question the voyage even more. According to one of their blog posts in 2019, they revealed that Titan wasn't even classed using industry standards because its technology was so new and it falls outside of the existing paradigm. OceanGate said that while classing has a safety value, it's not sufficient to ensure safety. A part of this innovative design is the fact that it's literally operated by a video game controller, which connects to the vessel through Bluetooth. This is by far the most unbelievable part of the story. Game controllers are sometimes used by pilots controlling drones, as well as in medical training. But to think it's the only way to control this submersible 12,000 feet below the water is shocking. What's even more troubling is the reports that have come out since the story broke. David Pogue, a CBS News correspondent, was involved in the exact same expedition last year with the Titan, and he revealed something pretty shocking. Apparently on his trip, the vessel got lost on the seafloor for a few hours while they were visiting the Titanic's resting place. He tweeted, "On my expedition last summer, they did indeed get lost for about 5 hours. David wasn't in the submersible himself, but he was in a control room on a ship at the surface at the time. Although unlike this one that went missing, the one last year's never actually lost communication with its mothership." He said they could still send a short text to the sub, but did not know where it was. It was quiet and very tense, and they shut off the ship's internet to prevent us from tweeting. The company claimed that this was all to keep the channels open in case of a serious emergency. Leading this current search is the US Coast Guard Admiral John Morga, who spoke to CBS Mornings about the rescue mission. He said, "This is an incredibly complex case. As long as there is an opportunity for survival, we will continue to work and bring every resource to bear on the search." He also confirmed that authorities are deploying more vessels in the search, and at the moment they have an aircraft flying above the water's surface. There is still some hope left, though it's a race against the clock, because the air supply is expected to run out tomorrow at around 6 AM. Moving on, there has been some more disturbing news about Amanda Bynes. Amanda was detained this weekend for a mental health evaluation about 3 months after she was placed on psychiatric hold. According to TMZ, the LAPD took her into custody Saturday morning after they received a call for a woman in distress. Eyewitnesses said that Amanda looked calm in the presence of the police. This incident comes after reports that she's been very diligent about her medication and focused on therapy. It's been said that she's living alone and tends to keep to herself. Back in March, it was reported that she was found roaming the streets naked and alone near downtown LA in the early hours of the morning. She was going through a psychotic episode, and thankfully she was able to wave a car down and tell the driver to call 911. She was then taken to a nearby police station and placed on a 5150 psych hold while her mental health status was getting evaluated. At the time, no one exactly knew what happened to trigger this horrific event, although many signs pointed to a mental breakdown. Her ex-fiance Paul Michael later spoke to TMZ and explained that they were having relationship problems the week before, and they decided to break up. He claimed that 2 weeks before the incident, Amanda disappeared for 3 days and eventually came home with another guy. He said she seemed like a different person. They had an argument, and Paul then packed up his things and left their home. Before returning to a psychiatric hospital, Amanda was spotted out on the streets of Hollywood on St. Patrick's Day. A TikTok user by the name of Caitlin Hotfox recognized her and filmed a video of them walking together. Thankfully, she was able to see that Amanda needed a bit of help, and she seemed to be respectful of her state of mind. In the clip, Amanda was holding her arm and looking off into the distance. At one point, she smiles and waves to the camera before focusing her eyes on the street. She didn't say much in the video, but it looked like she was happy to have found someone to hang on to. The woman in that video left a comment saying, "Happy she's getting the help that she needs. She was sweet, gave her some money and talked. Sometimes people just need someone to talk to." Something similar was reported to have happened a few days before her psychotic episode. An eyewitness spoke to Entertainment Tonight and claimed that they had seen Amanda during the early hours of the morning. They said no one really recognized or noticed her. She was walking tensely and by herself. A woman started walking with her and tried to help her. Amanda asked the woman to hold her. She seemed to be in a loving, wholesome mood, even though she was clearly out of it. She asked to be dropped off at her friend's place in Beverly Hills, but when the woman went to drop her off, Amanda's friend did not answer the door. Apparently, she didn't want to go home because her boyfriend had kicked her out, so she then asked to be dropped back off on Hollywood Boulevard. As for her parents, they have made it very clear that they aren't considering another conservatorship despite everything that's just happened. They believe it was a good sign that she was at least able to call the police on herself and had the ability to recognize when she needed help. A source then spoke to Entertainment Tonight and confirmed that Amanda and her fiance had broken up before that mental health crisis and hospitalization. They said Amanda broke things off with Paul in January and kicked him out of the house. She realized that ending the relationship would be best for her. Amanda is doing well and taking care of herself. Talking to ET at the time, Paul said she's doing well. "I really love the experience that we got to share together and that we got to know each other, but there was nothing I could do." So let's just hope that Amanda does have the support close to her this time around so she can get the help that she needs. And now doctors are warning about Ozempic's terrifying side effects. It's no doubt that it's become the hottest prescription on the market, and the trend seems to have started in Hollywood and spread from there. But the medication, which was initially designed for people with type 2 diabetes, can have serious side effects. It's been reported that doctors are now witnessing a spike in ER admissions among those who use it. One ER doctor took to Twitter and wrote, "The amount of people coming to the ER for the side effects of Ozempic, diarrhea, nausea, bloating." Meanwhile, other medics are sounding the alarm about additional side effects like blurred vision, kidney failure, gallstones, and even cancer. While changes in vision is listed as a side effect on the official website, we still don't know whether it directly causes that symptom or whether diabetics who take the medication are experiencing something called retinopathy, which is an eye condition that can cause vision loss and blindness specifically in people who have diabetes. According to one UK website, diabetic patients are actually more likely to experience blurred vision while taking Ozempic because of the high sugar levels, which can damage the retina. But we're also hearing reports of the other unpleasant side effects, which seem to be a lot more common. On TikTok, the phrase Ozempic burp has 1.2 billion views, and many people are also complaining about their breath smelling like rotten eggs. Even celebrity users like Elon Musk have admitted that their burps are next level. This is because the medication slows the digestive system, which can lead to a buildup of air. The bad smell could be caused by stress, acid reflux, irritable bowel syndrome, and even a bacterial infection. In clinical trials, nearly 9% of patients reported belching as a side effect, while 6% reported acid reflux. The other side effects seem to be nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and of course constipation. Ozempic patients have also talked about having bizarre dreams and excessive bowel movements, especially at night. Many of them quite literally reported defecating while sleeping. Of course, through all of this, your physical appearance will also go through some changes too. Many users have complained about something that they call Ozempic face, which is that gaunt, hollowed out look you get in your face once you've lost a significant significant amount of weight. This is mostly a loss of facial fat that can leave the face sagging and looking older. But some people on the medication feel that this facial change is extremely drastic. It's not just a wrinkle in one area or heaviness around the eyes. Ozempic face often means changes in your temples, jawline, mouth, and under eyes. This usually happens because patients have dropped too much weight and far too quickly. If that isn't crazy enough, there is also something called Ozempic fingers, which is exactly what it sounds like. Apparently women have been flocking to jewelers to resize their wedding rings after dramatic weight loss has slimmed down their fingers. The biggest issue though is that people who want to use the medication just to lose a few pounds wouldn't normally be candidates for that treatment, but they want to get their hands on it anyway, and that's what's led to a shortage in the past. A few months ago, the FDA listed both Ozempic and Wegovy as 2 dozens of medications in short supply. A representative for the manufacturer released a statement saying that they are experiencing intermittent supply disruptions due to the incredible demand. It's currently being supplied by doctors and nutritionists. It's also being said that certain medical spas carry it as well, and of course it's not cheap. A single Ozempic pen costs somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 per month if you're getting it from a pharmacist. But the real question is, are people going to be lining up for it even though we're still finding out about the side effects? Or are the risks actually worth the potential benefits of weight loss? Well, that's something that still needs to be discussed. First up, how is Scott Disick feeling about Kourtney's pregnancy announcement? Well, apparently he's doing the best he can under the circumstances. A source spoke to Us Weekly and said, "It stings a little and he will always have love for Kourtney, but at the same time he is also happy and excited for her. He wants to continue to move on and focus on his own personal life." They insisted that Scott is being as supportive as possible while also trying to take care of himself. It's been said that he's prioritized staying on good terms with Kourtney and her husband Travis Barker. Scott knows that this is what Kourtney has wanted for a long time, and as bittersweet as it was, he reached out to congratulate her and Travis. During an episode of The Kardashians last year, Scott commented on their relationship and said, "Now that Kourtney has her life with Travis, as hard as it is, it does give me a place to finally be able to move on. I'd rather be around them and be around my family than not at all." He said that it was a huge adjustment losing Kourtney romantically and losing her as a best friend, and it has been one of the most difficult things in his life, that transition from lovers to friends to co-parents. But he seems to have finally accepted the way things are now. According to one source, Scott has held out hope for reconciling with the mother of his kids. They said, although he knows it's not realistic, part of him will always hold out for him and Kourtney to get back together. As much as he wishes things could have worked out for them, at the end of the day, all he wants is for Kourtney to be happy. They said Scott has come a long way from where he was when Kourtney and Travis first started dating. Most people know it was a tough realization for him to accept, and it took quite a while to get there. But even if it does take him some time to adjust, it doesn't actually affect Kourtney's news whatsoever. Fans are really happy for her, and she revealed the surprise during Friday's Blink-182 concert in LA. In the audience, she showed off her baby bump and held up a sign that read, "Travis, I'm pregnant." Although he clearly knew beforehand, he then joined her in the crowd for a hug and a kiss to celebrate. That stunt was a reenactment of the classic music video for the song All the Small Things, where a woman also holds up exactly the same poster, so they pulled it off pretty well. Kourtney then took to her Instagram and made a post saying that she was overwhelmed with gratitude and joy for God's blessing and plan. She also posted a really sweet backstage photo of Travis kissing and drumming on her stomach. A source recently spoke to people about their pregnancy news and said Kourtney is just beyond excited. She's had happy tears when she told her family. Her older kids are excited about the baby too. The source went on to say that Kourtney has been praying for this. She has wanted a baby with Travis since they first started dating. They've been trying to get pregnant for almost 2 years. It's been grueling. During a confessional on the Kardashians, Kourtney revealed that she had stopped doing IVF, and they were simply hoping that it would happen naturally, which means their prayers really got answered in the best way possible. Kourtney and Travis each have children from previous relationships. Travis shares his son Landon and daughter Alabama with Shannon Moakler, while Kourtney shares 2 sons, Mason Rain and a daughter Penelope, with Scott. For his part, Scott has been linked to several high-profile women after his relationship with Kourtney. In 2017, he started a long-term relationship with Sofia Richie, who is 15 years younger than him. This was one of the more controversial pairings, given that Sofia was only 18 years old at the time, and she had also been a friend of the Kardashians for years. So naturally, the whole family was kind of against them, including Kendall Jenner, who left a shady comment on one of Scott's Instagram posts about the couple. Even Sophia's dad Lionel Richie was not really too happy with their age difference. At one point he said, "She's 19. When you're 19 you know everything. Is it going to be for life? I don't know. But for right now it's just a phase." Despite the backlash, they did stay together for nearly 3 years, and Sophia even went on the show at one point. It was a little bit awkward though because Scott was still co-parenting his 3 kids with Kourtney, and she was obviously not too happy with this new relationship. Following a 3-year romance, they then called it quits in August of 2020, while he was subsequently spotted out with models Bella Bynes, Megan Blake Irwin, and Amelia Gray Hamlin. An insider told Us Weekly that he will always have love for the mother of his children, and that door will always be open on his side just in case she ever wants to take their relationship back to a romantic place. And now Jeffree Star has jumped in on the Colleen Ballinger allegations. If you didn't know, she has been accused of inappropriate behavior towards her young fans of Miranda Sings. She was specifically called out by a guy named Adam McIntyre, who shared a video where he claimed that Colleen allegedly sent him lingerie when he was 15 years old. Last week, she lost over 40,000 subscribers on her YouTube vlog channel after Adam posted 2 more videos. In them, he accused her of trying to turn fans against him and discredit his initial claims. And now Jeffree has done a TikTok live stream with Rich Lux and Eugenia Cooney. The 3 of them discuss Colleen's presence online as well as the controversy that she's going through right now. Jeffree said he doesn't read much drama online anymore and doesn't know what is going on with her, but he says he's never met her, never followed her, and never gave a damn about her. He said, "I am horrified by the things I've seen. Honestly, I know we're all joking around and having fun, but like, that person is sick. I have never been a fan. So I was very shocked to see all of that." That's my official quote. Eugenia went on to say, "It's so scary that there are some people on the internet who are doing such horrible things. While many fellow creators have come out to criticize Colleen, there are also those people who have defended her. Trisha Paytas is one of them. She just posted a quote about forgiveness amid the ongoing allegations." If you didn't know, Trisha and Colleen both rose to fame at a similar time on YouTube, and they recently launched a new podcast together called Oversharing. In the wake of the new controversy, people have called on Trisha to say something. As it stands, she has yet to officially comment on it, but she did post a religious quote which seems to be about forgiveness. On her Instagram story, she wrote, "Always pray to have eyes that see the best in people, a heart that forgives the worst, a mind that forgets the bad, and a soul that never loses faith in God." Trisha and Colleen's podcast launched in May. At the moment, they are still creating content together as a kind of partnership. Fans initially responded very well to the collaboration, but ever since these allegations surfaced, Trisha has been receiving a lot of negative comments on her end as well. From the outside, it looks as though she is continually supporting Colleen, even though she's going through the biggest controversy of her career right now. In fact, she's losing sponsors left and right. At least 2 companies who paid for ads on her podcast with Eric Stocklin have now pulled their sponsorship. The skincare company OneSkin spoke to TMZ about why they decided to end the partnership. They said, "We were made aware of this previously and have decided to cease the relationship completely. This behavior is appalling, and we do not condone or support it in any form." After that, a telemedicine company named ZocDoc also ended their partnership with her. And all of this happened in week 2 of the scandal. These allegations first came out in 2020 when Adam McIntyre, a former fan, released a shocking video on YouTube. He revealed the inappropriate and toxic friendship he had with Colleen when he was 13 and she was in her 30s. They first connected during a live stream that she was hosting with her friend in 2016. She noticed his tweets and said that he seemed so funny that she had to send him something. This is when she allegedly sent him lingerie in the mail, which his mother confiscated immediately. They then continued to have a friendship, and Colleen even asked him out to lunch while she was in Ireland, which is where Adam lives. He posted a video exposing some of these inappropriate conversations that she allegedly had with other underage fans. She seemed to manipulate and bully them into doing free labor. These conversations were all taken from a group chat that Adam and Colleen were a part of, and the evidence is pretty shocking. In one instance, Colleen was seen asking him for a photo of his butt. She also asked female fans to describe their first period and made fun of a fan who got a tattoo in her honor. At the time of these conversations, she was already in her 30s, and a lot of these people in the group chat were around 14 to 16, but she still made inappropriate comments about their physical appearance, encouraged bullying, and asked some really creepy questions. Sadly, when this video first came out, Adam was met with a ton of backlash from other fans, all jumping in to defend their favorite creator, probably because Colleen has something of a cult following that she developed over the years for her character Miranda Sings. Now, almost 3 years later, people are actually giving him the time of day to talk about what happened. Many former fans have now apologized to him for dismissing his initial claims. Instead, they've made an effort to uplift him on social media and show their support. Right now, it seems like this firestorm is enough to end Colleen's career permanently, and after everything that's happened, it's very difficult to see her coming back from this. Alright, now did you guys see that horrible moment BB Rexa was hit in the head with a phone? While the singer performed on stage at a New York City venue, an audience member whipped a cell phone at her face, which struck her in the forehead and left her with a wound that needed multiple stitches. In a video that made the rounds on Twitter, you can see the shocking moment that everything unfolds on stage. When BB gets hit in the head, she turns and she falls to her knees. She's then rushed off stage by her team, and the audience is left in shock at what just happened. A second clip shows the singer holding her injured face with one hand while waving to her fans with the other, as she's escorted off the stage by her crew. The audience responded by chanting her name in support. The person who threw the phone has since been identified in a criminal complaint as 27-year-old New Jersey resident Nicholas Malvana. And the worst part about all of this is his explanation. He was quoted saying, "I was just trying to see if I could hit her with the phone at the end of the show because it would be funny." Thankfully, Nicholas has since been charged for the attack, and now that his name is out there, he's being publicly dragged online. Under one popular Twitter post, people were sharing reactions to the culprit. They wrote things like, "Not all men, but always a man." And if you thought this was funny, I wonder what he thinks prison is like. Another person wrote, "He looks like the type to think it's funny to hurt women, to be honest. They always have a look." So at least most people can agree that there is something seriously wrong with a person who would do this. After all, BB Rexa has got to be one of the most unproblematic celebrities out there. Even if she does have a few haters, the fact that this person went to her concert and stood in the crowd just to go ahead and do this proves that there is something seriously malicious going on, and he wasn't just trying to be funny. Sadly, the attack left BB with a painful looking injury across her face. On Monday, she posted a selfie on Instagram where she's giving a thumbs up, and you can see the cut just above her eye where she needed 3 stitches to close the wound. There's also significant bruising around her eye. Thankfully, she got a lot of support from her celebrity friends in the comment section. Just some of the ones who left nice messages were Katy Perry, Demi Lovato, Winnie Harlow, and Bonnie McKee. Despite the attack, she continues to hold her head high, and she'll eventually be able to get back to what she called the best tour of her life. It's official, Kourtney Kardashian is expecting a child with her husband Travis Barker. This news was announced in the cutest way possible. Kourtney revealed the surprise during Friday's Blink-182 concert in LA. In the audience, she showed off her baby bump and held up a sign that read, "Travis, I'm pregnant," all while he was on stage. Although he clearly knew beforehand, Travis had joined her in the crowd for a hug and kiss to celebrate. The stunt was an exact reenactment of the classic music video for All the Small Things, where a woman holds up exactly the same poster. So they pulled it off really well. Kourtney then took to her Instagram and made a post saying, "Overwhelmed with gratitude and joy for God's blessing and plan." She also posted a sweet backstage photo of Travis kissing and drumming on her stomach. A source recently spoke to people about her pregnancy news and said, "Kourtney is just beyond excited. She had happy tears when she told her family. Her older kids are excited about the baby too." The source went on to say that Kourtney has been praying for this. She's been wanting a baby with Travis since they first started dating. They have been trying to get pregnant for almost 2 years. It's been grueling. The two of them each have children from previous relationships. Kourtney shares 2 sons, Mason Rain, and a daughter, Penelope, with Scott Disick, while Travis shares his son Landon and a daughter, Alabama, with Shanna Moakler. The happy pregnancy news comes after they recently had stopped IVF treatment, but they were still hoping to have a baby together. During a confessional on the Kardashians, Kourtney said, "We are officially done with IVF. We would love a baby more than anything, but I really believe in what God has in store for us. If that's a baby, I believe it will happen." So far, the response to this announcement has been overwhelmingly positive, because so many fans feel like they were on this journey with them. One person tweeted, "Kourtney Kardashian being pregnant makes me so happy because they tried so many times and it's so rewarding when it finally happens." Another person wrote, "Yes, Kourtney Kardashian normalized having a baby after 40, because that's the only reasonable age for me to have a child." And that's the other thing about this news, is that it's encouraging for other women who are looking to have children later in life, but they might be a little nervous about having trouble conceiving or potential issues that might come with pregnancy over 40. Kourtney and Travis were married in an intimate wedding ceremony in Portofino, Italy. Dolce & Gabbana designed her wedding dress when she married him for a 3rd time in May of 2022. But shortly after their wedding, Kim created a collaboration with Dolce & Gabbana, and she made a memorable appearance at their show during Milan Fashion Week. This is what really seemed to set Kourtney off. In season 3 of the Kardashians, she accused Kim of using her wedding as a business opportunity. So she thinks that Kim stole some of the limelight just to be able to profit off of it for the same brand. In one scene, Kourtney is sitting across from Kendall and talking about Kim's role in the show. She puts her face in her hands and starts to cry, saying she just sees it as the dollar signs. "Sorry, it upsets me because it's just not about business. It's just legit copying my wedding. And later in the preview, Kim asks she's mad at me, and she seems to be genuinely thrown off by the whole idea. Apparently things got so bad between the sisters at one point that Kourtney removed herself from all 4 of their family group chats. Thankfully, Kim spoke out about the fight recently and said that she and her sister have smoothed things over. She said, "We've been there before and we'll always be okay. We're always family. That's how we were raised." It turns out it was the actual show that created a lot of these arguments between them. Kim said, "You film it, we think we're good, and then we make up, and then you edit it, and I'm seeing all the things she's saying behind my back, and she's seeing all the things that I'm saying behind her back, and the tension rises all over again. It gets really tricky and it gets really emotional, but at the end of the day, we still love sharing our life." So that drama that we see on their show is not only real, it actually has a tendency to affect their real life relationships. Now let's talk about The Flash and how it's turned into possibly one of the most expensive flops of the year. The movie debuted with just $130 million worldwide, making it the lowest 3-day global opening weekend for the DCEU, just behind that movie Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which also tanked with just $133 million back in March. The opening weekend crowds gave The Flash a B cinema score, and it currently sits at 66% on Rotten Tomatoes. And without positive audience scores or a strong word of mouth, the movie is really going to struggle to make any kind of rebound in the coming weeks. This disappointing opening is definitely not what Warner Brothers hoped for when they tried to convince the public that this was going to be one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. They went to so much effort with the nostalgia, adding in Michael Keaton's Batman and a whole bunch of live-action DC cameos. The story picks up as Barry Allen travels back in time to prevent his mother's murder, and he accidentally cracks open the DC multiverse. It seemed to be somewhat of a promising storyline. So what happened? Well, analysts believe that several factors are to blame for the film's weak initial turnout. One major roadblock is that The Flash landed on the big screen without a traditional promotional push. That's because the star, Ezra Miller, has become such a controversial figure that they really didn't want to bring any more attention to their legal troubles. The actor made a rare appearance at the premiere, but they didn't take part in many interviews or other kinds of publicity efforts. A few months ago, Ezra broke into a neighbor's home without permission while they were out and stole several bottles of alcohol, but when they were caught, the actor claimed that they were in the house that wasn't theirs to look for ingredients for a recipe for their mother. They then took a plea deal for the burglary, which is a crime which would have otherwise carried a prison sentence of up to 26 years. Their lawyer released a statement saying that they accepted the conditions and that Ezra would like to acknowledge the love and support they have received from their family and friends, who continue to be a vital presence in their ongoing mental health battle. The Flash star then apologized and claimed that they were doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in their life. But that incident was a part of a larger pattern of really disturbing behavior, which started about a year before Ezra was arrested in Hawaii. In early April of 2020, a shocking video went viral that showed the actor choking a female fan and aggressively pushing her to the ground at a bar in Iceland. The actor was approached by a group of eager young fans who were just excited to have spotted someone that they recognized. But then Ezra quickly lost their temper and yelled, "Oh, you wanna fight? That's what you wanna do?" And in the clip, you could see the woman was clearly confused and thought that they were joking, but she was then grabbed by her throat and thrown to the ground. Eventually, the growing controversies put Ezra's role in the DCEU in jeopardy. They became a walking PR nightmare, and there were even calls to have them removed from the film entirely. Of course, that didn't end up happening. Warner Brothers made a choice to stick by their lead actor, likely because it was just way too expensive to replace them. Instead, they did everything they could to ensure that Ezra stayed out of the spotlight in the months leading up to the film's release, which we now know did very little to save it from becoming a major flop. Aside from the Ezra issue, there was another problem with The Flash that was more or less unavoidable. There were less than enthusiastic reactions from the audience. First of all, the news that James Gunn and Peter Safran would be rebooting the DC universe killed any interest in the upcoming movies. And another big part of this is simply superhero fatigue. For over 20 years, superhero movies ruled the cinemas. The golden age seemed to be somewhere between 2010 and 2020, when every single movie that came out was almost guaranteed to cross the $1 billion mark at the worldwide box office. Although that was never going to last very long, considering that superhero comic books and superhero movies all follow a very similar formula. Regardless of the plot, the story usually ends with the heroes beating the brand new villain of the week without almost any consequences. And even if a story doesn't end this way, there is almost nothing that studios can do at this point to shock audiences anymore. For his part, James Gunn does recognize this and seems to have embraced the idea of superhero fatigue rather than acting like like it does not and will never exist. In his new position at DC, he said that he plans to create emotionally grounded character-focused stories that will push the genre forward and maintain audiences' interest. In many ways, the last few years have seen DC release some of the most creatively interesting comic book films to ever grace the big screen. Yes, The Flash might be a bit of a miss, but it's still possible to resurrect the genre as a whole with the right direction. Now let's talk about the new rules for the Oscars, which have gotten a lot of people fired up. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is now beholden to new inclusivity standards. Starting in the March 2024 awards, movies will not be considered for a Best Picture nomination unless they meet 2 out of 4 standards. One of them is featuring a lead or significant supporting character from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. Another one is having a main storyline that focuses on an underrepresented group, or at least 30% of the cast from 2 or more underrepresented groups. As expected, these new rules have sparked outrage across the film community. Right away, a really interesting point was brought up about how this whole thing will change the landscape of award-worthy cinema. Like the fact that if it was released today, The Godfather would probably have no chance of winning a Best Picture Oscar. Other classics would likely not receive a nomination, regardless of how good they are. Movies like Gladiator and All the President's Men, and even more recent ones like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, American Hustle, and Joker would also have missed out. One director spoke to the New York Post and said, "It's completely ridiculous. I'm for diversity, but to make you cast certain types of people if you want to get nominated, that makes the whole process contrived. The person who is right for the part should get the part. Why should you be limited in your choices? But it's the world we're in. This is crazy." Richard Dreyfuss also discussed the new standards of inclusion on PBS last month and said that they make him want to vomit. He described movies as an art form and a form of commerce, and said, "No one should be telling me as an artist that I have to give in to the latest, most current idea of what morality is." An industry insider then offered some explanation into the changes and claimed that the Academy's goal is not to disqualify any films, but rather to celebrate and encourage progress towards greater representation and inclusion in the industry. One of Hollywood's biggest producers also spoke to the Post and claimed that very few people in the industry actually support these new rules. He said, "Everyone thinks the Academy went too far. It's ridiculous to tell us that we have to regulate our work. We talk about it amongst ourselves, but it's not worth speaking up publicly." Although many industry insiders clearly don't feel comfortable enough criticizing it, conservatives on social media have jumped at the chance. Charlie Kirk tweeted, "Under new rules for the Academy Awards, no film can win Best Picture unless it hits arbitrary diversity quotas. Under this rule, The Godfather, Lord of the Rings, or Saving Private Ryan would all be ineligible. This is what they mean by diversity, but it's the opposite of diversity. They want a uniform, politically correct monoculture devoid of any creativity or free expression." But even without all these inclusivity standards, the last several years of Oscar winners have actually already met this criteria. This year, Everything Everywhere All at Once took home the award, and the film features a mostly Asian cast. Last year it was Coda, which centered around a deaf family in Massachusetts. Then we have No Man Land from 2021, which revolved around Frances McDormand's widow character who travels to the US in a van. And the year before that was Parasite, which focused on 2 South Korean families and told a story about class, morality, and capitalism. So the Oscars have definitely made a lot of progress in recent years when it comes to representation. There's no denying that historically women and people of color have been consistently overlooked for these awards, which is why there were movements started like the Oscars So White campaign a few years ago. Obviously there is still a long way to go in terms of lack of diversity, but are these new standards really going to change that?